Today's mystery is about Queen Elizabeth I. It is a mystery that has puzzled many for the last 500 years. Why would a beautiful young woman refuse to fulfill her dynastic duty? In 1559, when Elizabeth was crowned Queen of England, she was the queen to get. Her list of suitors was 3 pages long. Let's put it this way. You can hardly find one European monarchy not on the list. This list is so long. There were 34 principal suitors from 1533 to 1585. Not counting the suitors not suitable for a queen like her. But there must be a reason why she let so many great marriage proposals go. There have been 10 possible reasons discussed over the last 500 years. And of course, I have an original one. Let me share the arguments with you. Number 1, King Elizabeth. Some people have believed that she was actually a man. When the real Princess Elizabeth died, the frightened nannies replaced her with a look-alike boy. This theory was boosted when a child's skeleton was found buried in her childhood home. This theory is interesting because this can explain why she wanted to be loved but could not marry to have children. This was not mentioned by others, but this can also explain why she hid herself behind heavy white makeup. However, the Queen did not start wearing makeup till she recovered from smallpox, for the obvious reason that she did not want to show her scarred face. Number 2, Elizabeth was not really a lady. Some Scots would agree with this statement if they still hold grudges against her for killing their poor queen. But I mean, literally, she was not a lady. R. Bacon stated that she may have testicular feminization syndrome, which meant she would have had female external genitalia but no uterus. This theory is partially based on her long, slender fingers, which can be a sign, and her request not to have an autopsy after she died. I think there is some merit to this theory, but I don't think the Queen is a virago like some said. As if she were, she would not have contemplated marrying the Duke of Anjou. However, she may have some issues, like no or irregular periods, problems with the reproductive system that only herself knows. This can explain why she said she would rather die than marry when she was young. Even though her dad moved heaven and earth to marry her mother, their marriage only lasted 3 years before he chopped her head off. Reports say children suffering from broken family syndrome are 11 times more likely to develop mental disorders. Was Queen Elizabeth suffering from this disorder? Although I can't say that was what took her down the single-lane drive, I am pretty sure it has something to do with it. She kept Robert Dudley in her palm so she can feel secure while having a long list of foreign suitors to confirm her most wanted status. Honestly, this queen sounded more like a girl from a nightmare than a girl from a dream. Number 4, love came cheap for a queen. Maybe the true reason why the Virgin Queen remained unmarried was because she was not a virgin at all. People say the best way to keep a guy interested is not to give him too much. So if you can have a handsome lord without sharing the crown, why give him any more than you need to? Maybe that is the real reason, right? Number 5, no husband is better than a wrong husband. Seeing how her sister gained the name of Bloody Mary, and the hatred of her people by marrying the most eligible bachelor on the planet, King Philip II of Spain, Naples and Sicily, Duke of Milan, and Lord of 17 provinces of the Netherlands. If this is a husband like King Philip II, who could destroy bloody Queen Mary, what will a husband do to her? She realized that as soon as she picked a foreign suitor, her subjects would pick on her. So, no husband is better than a bad husband. Now, let's move on to possibility number 6, control of the crown. Back in Tudor time, wives are basically an accessory to their husbands. So her husband of choice would be the king to rule England and to rule her. Like her poor cousin, Queen Mary of Scots. Once a popular queen among her people, lost the love and respect of her people when her immature husband tried to rule over her. Again, that can't be the main reason, but the consequence of marriage must have played in her mind like a movie. But she had a front row seat of what happened with her sister, Mary Tudor's marriage. King Philip II played his duty of a loving husband well while he was in England, but multitasked as kings to the other countries while holding the ceremonial English crown over his head and left the ruling to Queen Mary. So it is proven a queen can have a husband but still be in control of her country. Yet, like we said before, marriage to King Philip left Mary Tudor with nothing other than her unpopularity. And number 7, for the love of her country. That was a touching excuse, but not a good one. Her father, Henry VIII, married 6 times and was still an effective ruler. A queen performs a queen's duty during the day and wife's duty in the night. Maternity leave does not need to start till the baby is due. So that was nothing but a glorious excuse. Number 8, fear of childbirth. For a girl growing up without a mother and without the love from a father, it must be hard enough. While seeing her stepmother, Jane Seymour and Catherine Parr, die after childbirth can have devastating effects on her. What was worse was to see how her half-sister humiliated herself after announcing the long-awaited pregnancy to her subjects, only to find she was not pregnant. So I think the fear of childbirth or the fear of not being able to bear a child played an important role on her. And number 9, no stronger diplomacy ties and alliances through marriage. This may be another beautiful excuse good enough to only fool herself. The strong ties that bound the European monarchies was through marriage. But marrying Elizabeth was like holding the loose end of the rope. She clearly can't have any children, so the only tie the bridegroom gets is the tied knots. What's worse was that could be the end of the bloodline to the husband also. Imagine if Queen Elizabeth wiped out the French monarchy family of Valois-Angoulême with her marriage to Duke of Anjou. Who was the last hope of an heir for that family? Number 10, insecurity. Although she was the most powerful woman in the 16th century, Queen Elizabeth was abandoned by her father when she was 3, imprisoned by her sister in her 20s. That may be why she felt insecure and wanted a long list of suitors to boost her confidence. That may also be why she offered Queen Mary of Scots the chance to be named as her heir if she agreed to marry Robert Dudley. She wanted to know if Dudley really loved her or just loved her crown. If he said no to the beautiful young queen famous for her wits and beauty, then maybe he really loved her. Dudley must have seen through that and refused the marriage even after Queen Mary of Scots agreed. Why would she do that? Obviously, she wanted to make sure someone loved her for her. That can also explain why she was serious about marrying the Duke of Anjou. He was heir to his childless brother Henry III of France, and even if he was not to become King of France, he was offered to be the hereditary protector of the Netherlands, a de facto king. He was young and handsome, with a crown of his own. If he was willing to marry the queen, it must be true love. Now, this is my own wild theory. Number 11, genetic defect. In the dramatic history drama The Tudor, King Henry VIII decided to delete his queen, Anne Boleyn, when she delivered a premature, stillborn, deformed son. The king could not accept that the child had anything to do with him, so he pinned 5 men to Anne's bed and beheaded them all. Historians have long debated if Anne had a miscarriage, or had a phantom pregnancy, or what really happened, but something went terribly wrong that the king decided to kill his once beloved queen, with 4 innocent men and his ambassador to France, George Boleyn, Anne's brother. People said Henry VIII killed Anne Boleyn because he was then in love with Jane Seymour. That may be true, but a divorce may be much easier and cleaner than cutting her head off. And don't forget that only 4 years later, King Henry married 17-year-old Catherine Howard as his fifth wife. Do you know Catherine Howard was Anne Boleyn's first cousin? Catherine Howard's father, Lord Edmund Howard, was the brother of Anne Boleyn's mother. Although almost all of Catherine Howard's portraits were destroyed, this one seems to show some resemblance between the two. Was love and regret the reason Henry VIII married Catherine Howard? If that is the case, the circumstances that drove Henry VIII to kill Anne Boleyn must be dramatic. A disastrous pregnancy could be a reason. If that is really the untold secret reason for Anne Boleyn's death, you can't blame her daughter, Queen Elizabeth, for not wanting to take the risk of carrying a monster in her. Of course, these are all speculations, but it made no sense a queen carrying the hope of the nation to not have an heir would be to refuse her duty. It's like saying, I am married to my country, but I refuse to consummate the marriage. After she passed her childbearing age, she actually not only considered marrying Duke of Anjou, but also another handsome young man 14 years younger than her. So, who was this lucky bachelor? In 1571, when Don John of Austria defeated the Ottoman Empire, he became the hero of Europe. Although he was the illegitimate son of Charles V, Holy Roman Emperor, he earned the respect of all and the love of many. Even the country of Albania offered the throne to him, although his half-brother King Philip II told him to turn it down. So it did not come as a surprise when Queen Elizabeth seemed to be interested in Don John of Austria. However, John of Austria had his heart set on Mary, Queen of Scots. As a condition to take on the dangerous assignment in the Netherlands, John asked Philip II to promise support for him to invade England to rescue Mary, Queen of Scots, and marry her. Philip II agreed, but failed to keep his end of the bargain. After Don John made advances in the Netherlands, Don John, a hero who could have any princess in Europe, wanted to rescue the Catholic queen who had been imprisoned unfairly. In a letter Sir Amias Paulet sent to Queen Elizabeth, quote, "Within these 2 days that Don John hath sent to your majesty to require the Queen of Scots for his wife." That must be a blow to Queen Elizabeth, who was willing to give her hand to Don John. Instead of the Virgin Queen with the crown of England, he wanted the imprisoned queen suspected of killing her second husband with nothing to offer. Sadly, Don John died at age 31. He had crushed rebel forces in Spain, beat back a Turkish invasion at sea, and planned to sail across the Channel to rescue an imprisoned queen. It would have been a fairy tale ending if he had succeeded. Too bad fairy tales can only be found in books. For whatever reason, Queen Elizabeth did not want to have children. Whether it is because she was a man, or a woman with a defective reproductive system, she did not want anyone to know. Or maybe she just didn't find any of the suitors attractive. It seemed that she knew by taking Queen Mary captive, she can marry herself to any man of her choice, and then soon she can have a child with the best Tudor blood under her control. Of course, the use of Queen Mary of Scots diminished as she passed childbearing age. In 1587, Queen Elizabeth signed Queen Mary of Scots' death warrant. 16 years later, Queen Elizabeth passed her crown to King James I, the son of her rival Queen Mary of Scots. I often wonder why no one tried to analyze the DNA inside Queen Elizabeth's coffin to rule out some crazy theories on the Virgin Queen. But maybe it is a mystery best to remain unsolved. This is Ken Peters. Thank you for watching.